Welcome to this week's review of Mashle Magic and Muscle, Chapter 75 Mash Bernadette and the Interesting Interview. The chapter starting off at the Bureau of Magic with Mash, and Lance being called in for the final examination, probably because they were the ones who did the most when it came to actually helping to defend the school against Innocent Zero. But as Dot notes, it's a bit odd for them to continue to go ahead with the exam despite everything that has happened up till now. But Lance seems to just be relieved that they made it to the final examination. But before the three boys can proceed any further, they are welcomed by Wahlberg, who floats down from the air in front of them, explaining that before the final exam they would be taking part in an interview where they will each be questioned by one of the divine visionaries, but if they fail to deem them fit they won't be able to get any further in the examination, which in case you were wondering is just about as stupid as you might think. Giving one person all that power rather than leaving it up to a group discussion. Lance seems a bit frustrated by the fact that they are still keeping to such formalities but doesn't complain, as Wahlberg tells them to follow their guide's instructions. Sometime after that, Mash is reciting about his favorite food, anticipating what questions they might ask him when he gets called up for his own interview. His guide turns out to be a servant beast that kind of reminds me of a humanoid penguin wearing a suit and having chains coming out of their ears. Those chains have more symbolism than you might think too, given that they are a servant beast, and that they are called 008. Mash introduces himself to the small creature before being asked to follow behind it as it leads him presumably towards the interview area. As they walk we can see that 008 doesn't even reach up to Mash's knee, and the small creature is talking to Mash about how it heard a rumor that Mash couldn't use magic, but after Mash and the creature enter into a large hallway filled with pillars, and Mash says that his situation isn't so bad, despite the creature giving him its condolences for the cruelties he must have experienced, the creature transforms into a giant wolf-man-like creature, annoyed by Mash's lack of concern for his situation, and attempts to attack him with its claws. Of course, Mash easily leans to the side to avoid its rapidly swiping hands, while apologizing for saying something which upset him, but the creature denies this, telling him this isn't about what he said but rather that he was ordered to get rid of him, because he is a servant beast, which he explains is a creature which is cursed to never be able to lay a hand upon their masters, but in exchange for serving them they get tremendous power. The Wolfman then tells Mash that he must leave the exam because someone without magic shouldn't be there, and as Mash prepares to fight he suddenly seemed to realize something as he stops moving and allows the attack to strike him, causing blood to drip from his wounds. This is one of the very few times we have seen Mash actually get wounded, although it isn't too bad, rather it's just his hand which is a little bloody. And as the creature comments on how he didn't resist, Mash responds that it just sorts of hit him that 008 wasn't doing this because he wanted to, and all that stuff about curses and obedience bothered him. So as he moves forwards and touches the maw of the creature he tells it, if he was in his position and was ordered to fight, he wouldn't want to hurt him. This naturally takes 008 by surprise as he remembers voices from his past, people speaking of how despite understanding their language he was just an animal, that he needed to shut up and just do as he was told, that a slave should know their place and that he should be happy to just be kept alive. 008 can't believe that a human was kind to him, and so he begins to shrink back down only to get knocked aside as someone behind them asks what he thinks he is doing. And Mash turns to see Uta, face to face for the first time since his trial, the man questioning 008 if he even tried to do his job, and the creature, still in small form, begins sweating as it mutters out Master Uta, as he attempts to apologize. Mash steps in between them, fists raised and asking Uta if he is the one who has business with him. 008 is completely freaked out by this as he tries to convince Mash to stand down, as a divine visionary candidate can't possibly stand up against Uta, but Mash in his ever casual manner gives him a thumbs up saying he'll be fine, only for 008 to give us some background on Uta and his abilities. Apparently 7 years ago a group of mad jinn attacked, a species with such strength that even a divine visionary wouldn't be able to deal with them, because these monsters possessed such immense magic power that even a top-class human magic user only has about the same power as an average one of them. with even the Bureau's security force struggling against them, yet somehow Uta did not. He and his reinforcements took them all out, but more terrifyingly Uta managed to take out 6 of these monsters by himself, all without getting a single scratch on him. Apparently human inborn talent determines everything, from your ability to your intelligence and magic capability, with effort only allowing you to unlock and nurture that talent. But Uta is special. He was blessed with talent to reach the peak of the magical world. Mash's response to hearing all this: to give a deadpan stare and say golly, not the least bit. But Uta decides it's his turn to speak up, telling Mash that he can't accept him because it only takes one accept to collapse the system. And while he has gathered the support of Wahlberg and the others because of the strength he displayed against Innocent Zero, but they don't need him, because he believes he will be enough, so he'll show him just how useless he is. And Mash in response raises his fists to fight, telling Uta that if he wants to be accepted he'll have to beat him. This chapter has introduced some interesting topics, such as the slavery of servant beasts and how they are treated, a similar parallel to how house elves are treated in Harry Potter, and how these Majin, which supposedly have a tremendous amount of magic power. It makes me wonder if Father hasn't taken to experimenting on these absurdly powerful magic creatures himself, and I also wonder just how much magical power they have in comparison to Father, who has been around for decades and has likely been spending that time gathering more and more magic. Also, Wahlberg is up and about, seemingly still freely able to enter into the Bureau of Magic despite losing a considerable amount of power. I do wonder if any of the other divine visionaries are going to bring that up at some point as a mean to force him out of his position, as he has lost his strength. Either way, the fight we are about to get is going to be pretty tough if it doesn't end up getting interrupted by someone else, like say Caldo arriving on the scene. But that's all I have to say. I've been the Anonymous Weeb, and I wish you a good day or night wherever you are.